Imagine drawing a line between the words mother, madre, matar, mutter, and matri. They come from different modern languages, spoken in different regions, written in different scripts, and shaped by different histories. Yet they are not random lookalikes. They are clues to one of the biggest stories in human language, the Indo-European family. This is the language family that includes English, Spanish, Hindi, Urdu, Bengali, Persian, Russian, Greek, German, French, Punjabi, Marathi, Portuguese, and many more. Today, more than 3.4 billion people speak an Indo-European language as their first language, roughly 42% of the world's population. That makes it the largest language family on Earth by native speakers. But its size is only part of the story. The deeper mystery is how languages spread across such vast distances can still be connected to a single prehistoric source. A language family is not a political group, a writing system, or a collection of languages that simply borrowed words from one another. It is a group of languages descended from a common ancestor. In the Indo-European case, that ancestor is not directly recorded in writing. Linguists call it Proto-Indo-European, a reconstructed prehistoric language believed to have been spoken during the Neolithic or Early Bronze Age, roughly between 3300 and 1200 BC. Reconstructed means that scholars do not have a book, inscription, or tablet written in Proto-Indo-European. Instead, they compare later languages and work backward, identifying regular sound patterns and shared vocabulary. When the same kinds of changes appear again and again across related languages, they reveal family relationships. This is why historical linguistics can treat words almost like fossils, preserving traces of migrations, contact, and deep ancestry. The Indo-European family stretches across a huge native range. It includes most of Europe, Greater Iran, and the northern Indian subcontinent. It also has native branches and languages in Armenia, Sri Lanka, the Maldives, and as far as mainland Southeast Asia, including the Rohingya language in Myanmar. Historically, Indo-European languages were also spoken in Anatolia, in what is now Turkey, and in parts of northwestern China. This distribution can seem surprising because the family is not limited to one continent or one culture. It crosses religious, ethnic, and national boundaries. Sanskrit, Latin, Ancient Greek, Old Persian, Gothic, Old Irish, and Hittite all belong to the same broader family, even though the societies that used them were very different. The Indo-European label is not about identity in the modern sense. It is about descent through language. Modern Indo-European languages are grouped into branches, and 8 major branches are still spoken today. 4 of them have hundreds of millions of native speakers each: Indo-Iranian, Italic, Germanic, and Balto-Slavic. Indo-Iranian includes languages such as Hindi, Urdu, Bengali, Punjabi, Marathi, Persian, Kurdish, Pashto, and many others. Italic is best known today through the Romance languages descended from Latin, including Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian, and Romanian. Germanic includes English, German, Dutch, Swedish, Norwegian, Danish, and related languages. Balto-Slavic includes Russian, Polish, Ukrainian, Czech, Bulgarian, Serbian, Croatian, Lithuanian, Latvian, and more. These 4 branches account for an enormous share of the family's speakers, and they show how one ancient source could diversify into languages now associated with different continents, empires, literatures, and modern states. The other living branches are smaller in number of native speakers, but historically and linguistically important. Hellenic is represented mainly by Greek, with a written history stretching back to Mycenaean Greek in the Bronze Age. Albanian forms its own branch, often called Albanoid in broader classifications. Armenian is also its own branch, reflecting a long and distinctive development in the South Caucasus and nearby regions. Celtic includes languages such as Irish, Welsh, Scottish Gaelic, Breton, and others, many of which have faced sharp decline but remain culturally significant. These smaller branches matter because language history is not only measured by speaker count. A branch with fewer speakers may preserve unusual features, ancient changes, or evidence that helps reconstruct the older family tree. In historical linguistics, every branch is a witness to the past. Not all Indo-European branches survived. Two major branches are extinct, Anatolian and Tocharian. Anatolian included languages such as Hittite and Luwian, once spoken in ancient Anatolia. Hittite is especially important because it provides some of the oldest written evidence for any Indo-European language. Tocharian was spoken far to the east, in the Darim basin of what is now northwestern China, showing that Indo-European languages once reached much farther into Inner Asia than many people assume. Extinct branches are not dead ends for scholarship. They can radically change our understanding of the family. Hittite, for example, preserved features that helped linguists rethink what Proto-Indo-European may have looked like. When a lost language is discovered in old manuscripts or inscriptions, it can act like a missing chapter in a very long book. The first written evidence of Indo-European languages appears in the Bronze Age. Among the earliest are Mycenaean Greek, written in the Linear B script, and Anatolian languages such as Hittite and Luwian. Some of the oldest Indo-European traces are isolated Hittite words and names found inside texts written mainly in Akkadian, a Semitic language used in the Assyrian trading colony of Kultepe in eastern Anatolia, dating to around the 20th century BC. This matters because writing arrives late in the story. By the time people began recording these languages, Indo-European had already split into many distinct forms across Europe and Asia. The original Proto-Indo-European speaking community left no direct written records, so scholars must reconstruct its language and parts of its culture indirectly through later evidence. Where was Proto-Indo-European spoken? This question has produced many competing theories, but the current academic consensus supports the Kurgan hypothesis. According to this view, the homeland was the Pontic-Caspian steppe, in what is now Ukraine and southern Russia. This region is associated with the Yamnaya culture and related archaeological cultures during the 4th and early 3rd millennia BC. The steppe setting is important because it connects language spread with mobility, pastoralism, and long-distance movement. The Kurgan hypothesis does not mean that every later Indo-European language speaker descends directly and simply from one group. Language spread is complex. It can involve migration, elite influence, trade, intermarriage, cultural adoption, and population mixing. But the steppe model remains the leading explanation for the early expansion of the family. How can linguists reconstruct a language nobody wrote down? The key is regular sound correspondence. For example, if one language has a P sound where another consistently has an F sound in related words, the pattern can reveal a historical sound shift rather than coincidence. English father, Latin pater, Greek pater, and Sanskrit pitar all point toward an older inherited word. The same method can be used for grammar, pronouns, numbers, kinship terms, animals, tools, and verbs. Linguists compare many languages, identify systematic patterns, and propose older forms that best explain the evidence. This comparative method was central to the rise of historical linguistics as an academic discipline in the 19th century. Indo-European studies became one of the main laboratories where scholars learned how languages change over time. Reconstruction can even suggest parts of Proto-Indo-European culture and belief, though with caution. Shared words across daughter languages may point to familiar animals, family structures, social roles, or technologies. Similar mythological patterns in later Indo-European cultures can also be compared, but scholars must be careful not to overstate the evidence. A reconstructed word does not automatically prove a complete cultural picture, and later societies changed dramatically in their own environments. Still, the method can offer glimpses. It suggests that the speakers of Proto-Indo-European had terms for kinship, livestock, wheels or wheeled transport in some reconstructions, and social relationships that later branches inherited and transformed. In this way, language becomes an archaeological tool. It does not replace material evidence, but it adds another layer to the ancient human story. The global reach of Indo-European languages today is not only the result of ancient migrations. Modern history dramatically expanded several European branches through colonialism, trade, state power, and global institutions. Spanish, English, French, Portuguese, Dutch, and Russian spread far beyond their original regions. They became established across the Americas, Africa, Oceania, North Asia, and parts of Asia through settlement, administration, education, religion, commerce, and empire. This later expansion is why English and Spanish are now spoken on multiple continents, and why Portuguese is a major language in Brazil and parts of Africa. It is important to separate ancient Indo-European expansion from modern colonial expansion. Both shaped the present map, but they happened in different eras, through different mechanisms, and with different consequences for local languages and communities. Today, Ethnologue estimates around 446 living Indo-European languages, with 313 in the Indo-Iranian branch alone. Some are global languages with hundreds of millions of speakers. Others are spoken by small communities and are endangered. This contrast shows the paradox of the family. It is massive, but not all of its members are secure. The story of Indo-European is not just about the success of English, Spanish, Hindi, or Russian. It is also about smaller languages preserving unique histories and worldviews. Linguists generally do not accept proven genetic links between Indo-European and other language families, even though some disputed hypotheses propose larger relationships. For now, Indo-European remains a vast but bounded family, reconstructed from patterns of sound, grammar, and history, connecting billions of voices to a prehistoric language no one has ever seen written down. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.